The stars were silent, but the silence was heavy with fear. Entire systems had already burned, their planets reduced to dust. Fleets that once protected proud civilizations had been broken, scattered like fragments in the dark. Every alien voice carried the same word now, desperation. Across the broken edge of the Orion Arm, a signal traveled. It was weak, trembling, almost hopeless. It was the last cry of a people who had nowhere left to run. They had lost their homes, their families, their armies. All that remained was a voice sent into the void. Please, if anyone can hear us, help us. The alien council sat in their shattered war chamber, their faces drawn and pale. Once these halls had been filled with banners and pride. Now the walls were cracked, the lights dim, and the air heavy with smoke from the last bombardment. Their leader, a thin figure with deep-set eyes, pressed his hands against the table. His voice shook as he spoke. We have sent the signal again. It is our last chance. If no one answers, then we are finished. The others lowered their heads. They knew the truth. No empire, no alliance, no army had survived the swarm. The machines consumed everything, metal, stone, even the skies. They moved like locusts, endless and hungry. For years, the aliens had begged their neighbors for aid. None came. Now, they whispered to one another, wondering if the message they sent would vanish into the black, unheard, like all the others before. Yet deep inside, a faint spark of hope remained. The youngest among them, a soldier with scars still fresh from battle, clenched his fists. "Someone will answer," he said. His voice cracked, but his eyes blazed. The stars cannot all be empty. Somewhere there must be a power greater than theirs. But his words were met with silence. The council broke apart that night, each returning to their quarters with heavy hearts. Some prayed, some wept. Others simply stared into the hollow darkness, waiting for the end. And above them, their last surviving defense ships floated quietly in orbit, their hulls cracked, their weapons silent, their crews exhausted. The enemy would come soon. The swarm always came. It was only a matter of time. Out in the black sea of space, the signal kept moving, passing through dust clouds, skimming past dead worlds, echoing between the stars. It traveled farther than any of them could imagine. And then, in the cold silence of a listening post far away, something stirred. Sensors caught the faint cry, decoded it, and sent it deeper. Across relays hidden in the void, the message traveled until it reached a fleet, one that no alien expected, one whose name they spoke only in whispers. Humanity, the humans, had not been part of the great alliances. They had stayed distant, watching from their own corner of the galaxy. Rumors painted them as unpredictable, stubborn, fierce. Some said they were too small to matter. Others said they were too dangerous to approach. No one had dared to test the truth. Now the message had reached them. In the void above Earth's outposts, command ships lit up with reports. Officers leaned over glowing tables as the transmission repeated, "Please, if anyone can hear us, help us. We are dying." The human commanders listened in silence. Their faces gave nothing away. They did not answer at once. Their fleets, black and vast, hung in still formation as though waiting for a single breath. To the aliens who had sent the call, no response returned. They thought their message had failed. On their broken world, the council gathered again. Their leader's voice was tired. "It is over. No one is coming. We asked, but the stars are empty." The youngest soldier slammed his hand on the table. "We cannot give up. We must keep sending the signal until the very last breath." But even as he spoke, the ground shook. Sirens wailed. The swarm had entered orbit. Their ships blotted out the sky, thousands upon thousands, glowing red with hunger. The alien people looked up in terror, their hope collapsing into despair. The council rushed outside as fire rained down. The swarm was here. This was the end. Yet just as the first enemy ships descended, the stars behind them shifted. A ripple spread through space, as though the void itself had opened. Shadows grew and then light. Dozens of massive forms emerged, their engines blazing blue, their hulls sharp as blades. More followed, until the sky was filled. A fleet like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Humanity had arrived. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. The aliens could only stare upward, their mouths open in awe. The swarm turned, sensing the threat, their red lights flickering with sudden unease. The humans said nothing. No broadcasts, no introductions. Their fleet moved into position in cold, perfect silence, and the aliens, broken and dying, felt a strange shiver crawl down their spines. Salvation had come, but they wondered what price would it demand. The swarm had always moved without fear. World after world, they descended with mechanical hunger, tearing apart fleets, devouring the weak, leaving nothing but silence behind. But this time, as the swarm ships closed in, something shifted in the void. The stars themselves seemed to dim, replaced by a new presence. The first alien eyes that looked upward could not believe what they saw. Dozens of black shapes emerged from the dark, larger than any ship they had ever known. Engines burned blue and white, steady and powerful, cutting through the dust clouds like knives. And then more followed. Dozens became hundreds. The silence of the void filled with the low, heavy pulse of engines like the heartbeat of giants. The alien council stumbled into the open, their robes torn, their faces pale. Their youngest soldier dropped to his knees, staring at the impossible sight. He whispered only one word: humans. The fleet stretched across the horizon. They were not fragile ships patched together like the Council's dying defense craft. They were towers of steel and fire, their hulls layered in black armor, their edges sharp and clean. Yellow markings ran along their sides like scars of lightning. Some carried massive cannons that glowed faintly, as if hungry to awaken. Others released small fighters, swarms of their own, that formed tight formations, ready to strike. But what unsettled the aliens most was not their size, nor their weapons, nor even their number. It was their silence. Humanity's fleet said nothing. No words, no greetings, no promises. They only arrived and moved, with cold precision, sliding into position between the swarm and the broken world below. The aliens could feel their hearts beating faster. Was this salvation or judgment? The swarm paused for the first time. Their red eyes flickered as they scanned the new enemy. They had never hesitated before, but now their endless hunger met a wall it had never seen. From the alien capital, the Council's leader spoke in awe. They came, against all reason, against all history. They came, his voice trembled. But why? No one could answer. In the orbit above, one of the human command ships shifted. It was larger than the rest, with wings that stretched outward like the blades of a weapon ready to strike. Its engines burned brighter, casting long shadows across the swarm's front line. A single pulse of light blinked from its surface, a signal brief and simple that no alien could read. The swarm, however, responded with violence. Thousands of their ships surged forward, their red lights flaring, their weapons igniting. Beams of fire shot toward the human fleet. Explosions filled the void as asteroids shattered. The aliens gasped. They had seen this before countless times. This was how it always began. The flood, the slaughter, the end. But the human fleet did not break. Their black warships shifted, their movements as smooth as flowing water. Shields flickered to life, walls of light absorbing the first storm of enemy fire. Human formations tightened. Their fighters, small and deadly, weaved between the beams like hunters, waiting for the command. Still, the humans gave no answer, no sound, no word. The aliens below gripped one another, trembling. Was this what they had begged for? Was this the moment they had called salvation? Or would humanity fall like the rest, leaving them to die in silence? The youngest soldier could not look away. His voice shook as he whispered, "No, they are not like us. They are not afraid." The swarm's storm grew wilder, filling the void with fire. But the humans remained patient. Their cannons stayed quiet. Their fighters circled, waiting. And then, at last, the silence broke. A deep vibration rolled across the stars, carried not by sound, but by the raw power of engines and weapons awakening. On the surface, the aliens felt the ground tremble as the first human guns prepared to fire. It was as if the whole of space had taken a single breath and was now ready to exhale destruction. From the flagship, a single command signal spread across the human fleet. The alien survivors could not hear the words, but they saw the response. Humanity's warships moved as one. Cannons lit up in a sudden blaze, streaks of blue fire ripping through the void. Beams of energy tore into the swarm's front lines, splitting ships apart in violent bursts of light. Fighters shot forward, darting like knives between the enemy, tearing through their ranks with precision. The swarm, once endless and fearless, now screamed in chaos as their ships burned. The aliens watched in stunned silence. Never in all the wars they had fought had they seen such cold, controlled destruction. Humanity did not fight with panic nor with desperation. They fought with something else entirely, calm, calculated power. The council leader fell back into his seat, his chest heaving. "This is not rescue," he whispered. "This is war," and the youngest soldier, his eyes wide with awe, answered in a voice that carried both fear and hope. "No, this is humanity." Above them, the void burned as the fleet advanced. The swarm had never been seen clearly by outsiders. Survivors spoke of red shadows that moved too fast to follow, of endless hunger wrapped in steel. But now, with humanity's fleet burning blue light across the void, the truth began to reveal itself. The first wave of swarm ships came into focus. They were not beautiful like crafted vessels. They were ugly, twisted shapes of jagged black metal, moving like insects with wings of fire. Their bodies were scarred with the remains of the worlds they had consumed. Each ship pulsed as though alive, veins of red energy crawling across their hulls. They looked less like machines and more like predators grown in darkness. From the broken world below, the aliens cried out. Some collapsed to their knees in terror. They had seen these creatures before. They had seen them fall upon fleets and tear them apart like meat. "They cannot be stopped," one elder whispered, his voice hollow. "Not even the humans will survive this." The swarm spread across the stars, their numbers unending. Thousands upon thousands filled the void, glowing with that same sickly red light. They moved with perfect unity, no hesitation, no fear. For every ship that burned, 10 more would take its place. The alien council watched in dread. Their youngest soldier gripped the edge of the table so hard, his knuckles turned white. His voice broke as he asked, "What if humanity falls too? What if there is no one left to fight them?" But no one answered. In the orbit above, humanity's fleet held steady. The human ships did not flinch. Their lines were tight, their silence deeper than the void itself. They waited as the swarm gathered, as the enemy revealed its full terror, and then the swarm spoke. It was not a voice of words, but of sound and vibration. A deep metallic screech that echoed across comm channels, forcing static into every alien ear. It was a scream of hunger, a promise of death. The aliens fell back from their consoles, clutching their heads, their eyes wide with fear. "Do you hear it?" an elder cried. "It is the voice of the swarm. They know no mercy, no reason, only hunger." The youngest soldier turned toward the sky. He felt the scream in his bones. Yet when he looked at the human fleet, he noticed something strange. The humans did not react. Their channels stayed quiet. Their ships did not waver. It was as if they had faced worse before, as if the scream was nothing to them. The swarm surged forward. They came like a wave of fire, their numbers blotting out the stars. Red light lit the void like blood, painting the broken planet below in a glow of doom. Weapons ignited. Rivers of plasma shot across space, aimed at the human fleet. The aliens braced themselves. They had seen this before. They knew what came next: fire, ruin, silence. But the humans did not scatter. Instead, their flagship moved first. The giant black ship with wings of steel tilted forward, its cannons glowing brighter. Along its hull, hidden panels slid open to reveal weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Blue energy built like a storm contained inside glass, humming so loud it rattled the very air on the planet below. The council leader stood in shock. "What are they doing?" And then the humans answered, not with words, but with fire. The flagship released its fury. A single beam of white-blue light burst forward, wide as a city, bright as a star. It cut through the swarm like a blade through paper. Dozens of enemy ships vaporized in an instant, their red glow snuffed out. The beam carved a path straight through the swarm's front line, leaving behind a trail of burning fragments and silence. The aliens gasped as the void lit up. "Impossible," one whispered. "No weapon as ever." But the humans were not finished. As the swarm tried to close the gap, the rest of the fleet opened fire. Hundreds of cannons unleashed streams of light, precise and unyielding. Fighters swarmed like knives, slicing through the enemy's chaos with deadly unity. Every shot was clean. Every move was calculated. The swarm screamed again, but this time their voice was fractured. Panic rippled through their endless unity. For the first time, they faltered. The aliens stared, unable to look away. They had lived with fear for so long, with the certainty of death. Now, they watched an army that did not fear, that did not hesitate. Humanity fought with a calmness that chilled the soul. The youngest soldier whispered, "They are not saving us. They are showing us." The council leader turned. "Showing us what?" The soldier's eyes stayed on the sky. "That they are the predators here, not the swarm." Above, the battle raged, but the humans pressed forward with relentless control. For every swarm ship destroyed, the void filled with burning debris. The humans did not cheer. They did not cry out. They simply advanced, and in that silence the aliens began to understand. The swarm had been unveiled, not as an unstoppable force, but as prey. The void burned. Swarm ships screamed as their red glow cracked and died under the storm of human fire. The aliens below could hardly breathe. For years they had known the swarm as the end of all things. Yet now, before their eyes, that endless terror was breaking apart. The human fleet moved like a living machine. Not one ship broke formation. Not one pilot lost their rhythm. When one vessel fired, another covered its side. When the enemy tried to strike, shields locked into place in perfect unison. It was not chaos. It was control, the aliens whispered among themselves. They fight as if they have done this 1,000 times before. But what frightened them most was not the weapons or the discipline. It was the silence. Humanity fought without a word, without a cry, without even a warning. They unleashed destruction like it was a language only they could speak. The swarm tried to adapt. They poured forward, changing patterns, surrounding the fleet, spreading out like fire across dry grass. It was the tactic that had consumed empires. But the humans did not bend. From the flagship, a new command signal spread. On the broken world below, the alien survivors saw the change at once. The fleet awakened. Hidden bays opened on the underbellies of the colossal ships. Swarms of human fighters poured out, sleek, sharp, glowing with blue trails. They moved faster than the alien eye could follow, weaving between swarm ships, carving through their ranks like blades. Each fighter flew as if part of one mind, striking weak points with deadly precision. Then came the war platforms. Great carriers unfolded sections of their hulls, releasing machines that looked like floating fortresses, bristling with weapons. They hovered in formation, firing beams that tore through clusters of swarm ships, burning holes into their endless wave. The aliens gasped. They had never seen such coordination, such raw power. One elder clutched his chest. "This is not a fleet," he said. "This is an army built for extinction." The swarm shrieked louder, trying to drown the humans in red fire. Yet every shot was met with a shield. Every rush ended in traps. Human ships moved like chess pieces, always one step ahead, always guiding the enemy into death. On the surface, the youngest soldier pressed his forehead against the glass of the observation dome. His eyes were wide, filled with awe and fear. "Do you see? They are not rescuing us. They are teaching us. They are showing the galaxy that nothing is greater than them." Above, the battle grew brighter. Human cannons unleashed storm after storm, shaking the stars. Massive beams split open the swarm's lines. Fighters dove through the wreckage, cutting apart stragglers. Explosions painted the void with burning fragments of metal. But what chilled the aliens most was how calm it all seemed. Humanity did not fight like victims struggling to survive. They fought like executioners, patient and precise. The swarm was not an equal foe. It was prey being thinned, pushed back, broken. For the first time in history, the swarm recoiled. Their vast numbers shifted backward. Ships that had never fled before turned their engines, pulling away from the storm of human fire. The red glow that had always filled the sky began to fade. The aliens cried out in disbelief. "They are retreating!" The council leader could not speak. His hands trembled. His mind refused to believe what his eyes showed. The swarm, the nightmare that had consumed whole civilizations, was running, and still the humans did not speak. The flagship tilted forward again, leading the charge. A new wave of fighters launched, diving after the retreating swarm. The humans pressed their advantage with ruthless force, cutting into the fleeing enemy like wolves chasing down broken prey. The youngest soldier whispered a question that froze the hearts of those around him. If this is what they do to save strangers, what will they do to those they call enemies? Silence filled the chamber. No one dared to answer. Above, the void was littered with burning debris. Shattered swarm vessels drifted lifeless, their red light extinguished forever. Trails of fire crossed the sky like falling stars. And in the center of it all, humanity's fleet advanced, unstoppable, endless, cold. The aliens realized something then, something they had not considered when they sent their desperate call into the stars. Salvation was never free. Help never came without cost. They had begged for life, and humanity had answered. But in their hearts, they began to fear the price. The council leader turned to the soldier. His voice was low, heavy with dread. "We may have called not for saviors, but for masters." Above them, the human fleet pressed on, chasing the swarm into the dark. The void was no longer silent. It belonged to humanity now. The battle was over. The swarm that once blotted out the stars now drifted in pieces across the void. Burned fragments of their ships floated like broken bones, their red light gone. The skies were littered with glowing trails of fire, slowly fading into black. The aliens stood in silence. For years, they had known only fear, only the certainty that death would come for them. Now, for the first time, they looked upward and saw something else: victory. Yet the victory was not theirs. It belonged to humanity. The human fleet remained in perfect formation. Their ships did not scatter, did not lower their weapons, did not move in relief. They stayed as they had fought, silent, disciplined, unmoving. Only their engines glowed, casting an eerie blue light across the broken world below. This alien council gathered at their observation tower, staring upward with trembling voices. "They saved us," one whispered, but the leader shook his head slowly. His eyes were fixed on the massive flagship that hovered above them, wings spread wide like a blade, ready to strike. "No," he said. "They destroyed our enemy." "That is not the same thing." The youngest soldier stood apart, his gaze locked on the human fleet. His voice carried both wonder and fear. "They came when no one else did. They fought when no one else could. Whatever their reason, they answered our call." And then the silence broke. From the human flagship, a transmission spread across the channels. The aliens froze as their consoles lit up. For hours they had waited for this moment, for humanity to speak. At last the voice came. It was not warm. It was not kind. It was cold, steady, and absolute. "You are safe." For now, 4 words. Nothing more. The council fell into silence. The youngest soldier clenched his fists. "For now? What does that mean?" The leader's face was pale. He understood. Those words were not a promise. They were a warning. Humanity had not come to offer comfort. They had come to make a point. Above them, the fleet moved again. Massive ships turned in unison, shifting into new formations. Fighters circled back into their bays. Weapons cooled, but none were hidden. The humans made no effort to appear peaceful. Their presence remained sharp, dangerous, heavy. The aliens felt it in their bones. Humanity had shown its strength not only to the swarm, but to every watching eye in the galaxy. This was not mercy. It was demonstration. The council leader spoke with a heavy voice. "We begged for salvation. Humanity gave it, but we are not free. We are in their shadow now." The youngest soldier looked at him. Then what do we do? The leader's eyes did not leave the sky. We remember, we repay, or one day we kneel. On the horizon, the human fleet prepared to leave. Engines burned brighter, their glow spreading across the ruined planet. One by one, the colossal ships turned toward the stars. Yet the silence remained. No promises, no demands, no final words. Only the shadow of their power. The aliens watched as the last of the human warships disappeared into the void. The stars returned, but they no longer felt the same. The galaxy felt smaller now, darker, ruled by something unseen. The council members sat in silence long after the ships were gone. Some whispered prayers of gratitude. Others whispered in fear. The swarm had been broken, but their world had changed forever. The youngest soldier finally turned from the sky. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. We called for help. We thought we asked for saviors. But maybe we called something far greater. The leader nodded slowly, his face etched with dread. Yes, we called humanity. And humanity answered. The chamber fell into silence again. No one dared to say more. Far across the stars, deep in the black, humanity's fleet moved on. They left behind no message, no thanks, no sign of alliance. Only a memory that would echo across generations. The day the swarm fled, and the day humanity showed its hand. The aliens knew they would never forget the sound of that cold transmission. You are safe. For now, it was salvation. It was warning. It was debt, and it was only the beginning.